I thought I would wrap up this semester by explaining how to give a bad presentation. I'd like to note that the purpose of this is to explain exactly what not to do in order to give a great presentation. In the next 5 minutes, I will briefly describe the key points to follow if you want to give the perfect bad presentation. So you want to try not to practice your presentation at all. A lot of great presenters practice at least 4 to 5 times in front of an audience in order to prepare for their actual presentation, but that isn't necessary in this case. The more you wing it, the better. Begin your presentation by setting up your computer while the audience sits in silence. Don't worry about making sure everything works before you present, just go with the flow. If something goes wrong, your audience isn't going anywhere. You want to start out with a joke that is controversial or just plain bad. This is the only sure way to create an awkward situation and therefore damaging your credibility. Credibility is everything, and not having it will definitely ensure that your audience will not take what you say seriously. One of the main things you need to focus on is how you present your information to the audience. This is called encoding. You want to be very aggressive, almost to the point where you are scared of yourself. The audience will pay more attention to how you sound rather than what you are saying. Along with that, don't be afraid to change your tone from time to time. From a screaming to a monotone level throughout the presentation, you want to keep the audience on their toes. When it comes to word choice, you want to make sure that you make the audience feel uncomfortable. Use foul language if you want, it just improves your situation. Also, you want to think about the level of information you are presenting. It is very important you explain your information in a way that no one in the audience can understand. If they can't understand you, then they will stop listening and you'll be off the hook for that time. Maybe use some very big numbers or words, and try not to use metaphors that often. Those tend to simplify what you're saying. Your body language is very important as well. You want to make sure that you move around a lot constantly and that you are barely making eye contact with the audience. If you feel like going above and beyond, play with your hair or mess with your clothes, or maybe even cross your arms and seem uninterested in what you are saying. You also want to take in mind the external noise during your presentation. You should be aware of it and point it out when it happens. If the air conditioner comes on, make sure you let the audience know that, because they might not have heard it and it's your job to inform them. When it comes to visuals in your presentation, charts are definitely the way to go. They are difficult to understand and do nothing for your audience, so obviously they are a must-have. You really want to make sure that you aren't standing out in any way. Standing out in a bad presentation is the worst thing you could do. The audience will remember you and therefore remember your message, so it's best you just stick with the basics. Remember, ambiguity is key. Lastly, I'm going to mention how to conclude your presentation. You really want to confuse the audience by talking about something that has no connection with what your presentation is about. Maybe end with a story or another bad joke. Even a good joke would do at this point. You definitely do not want to open up for questions. The audience probably has a lot of them at this point if you did your job right. Allowing them to ask questions will hurt what you've worked so hard to accomplish. If someone does end up asking a question, you can do one of the two things. Just act as if you have no idea what the answer is, or say something that makes no sense and has no connection with that question. Maybe even throw some big numbers and words in again. If you'd like to know more tips about how to give a bad presentation, please join me this Thursday while I explain in more detail the sure way to make that happen. Thanks for listening and good luck.